This has not been my day at all, under any circumstances. I'll shut the door, shall I? Oh, you never know who might wander in.
We are live now.
Right. Okay, folks, apologies first of all for the late running. We've had some interesting parking issues, courtesy of our friends at Dover. Welcome to the Standing Orders Working Group meeting. Two councillors plus myself present, so we are for it. And Christina is doing the filming. Thank you, Christina. Apologies for absence. Nick Gray, who's abroad, and Emmett Zuka, who's engaged in other council business today. Any declarations of interest? Fine, none. I haven't got one either. I sent a draft set of minutes to you. Any questions, queries, problems with them at all? No?
No, very comprehensive.
Thank you. Good.
Accurate.
Right, public participation, we don't seem to have anybody. I don't know, Christine, do you want to?
Not today.
Not today.
It's not a good day for me today. Thank you.
I'll talk to you later. Yeah, okay, I understand, yes. Right, okay, fine. Well, I think we need to finalise our proposals. The note I sent to you about the brief meeting I had with Jill, trying to understand where she's coming from, really I think sort of sums it all up. Is there we go. Summeriness. We've
Yes.
got that. Yeah. Jill wants. I think Jill is coming at it from a not dissimilar position to us.
Right.
She wants to send out what she calls the slate, which is basically that.
Yes.
And she wants to send it out with the existing membership on it, and then give people 2 weeks to say, yes, I want to still continue membership of this, or no, I don't want to continue to be a member, and I'm interested or in some other committee. So we would get to the same point fairly quickly. That would then show us our next stage, which is, have we got enough people, not enough people, or too many people? And again, she was of the view the same as ourselves. If you've got enough people, get on with it. If you've got too few people, but you will call it, get on with it and try to persuade people to do that. And the third one is the issue, which is I think we need to discuss, that what are we going to do if there's more applicants? We did discuss the option, which might be to increase the numbers under the terms of reference. I don't think that's a very good idea, and I don't think she believes it's a particularly good idea, because we recognise that committees, I mean, at that rate, the FNGP could become the whole council,
Exactly.
you know,
Yeah.
which is not the point. So I think so sorry.
Yeah, sorry, it just occurred to me reflecting afterwards that at Westgate we had 10 councillors, so these committees are almost as big as the whole council was at Westgate. Yeah. And as you say, I think if you just respond to the situation by increasing the numbers, it becomes a pointless exercise.
Yeah, there's no point having a committee, is there?
Exactly.
Yeah. The one other thing, sorry, stepping back one pace, if they weren't quorate, then the council should have a look at it. Do you actually need this committee? Why aren't enough people wanting to join the committee? And then you may decide whether you continue with the committee or abandon it. Yeah. Coming back to this one, if the increasing the numbers is not a particularly sensible option, then you need some kind of selection, and this is where we differed. There's two options really. Well, there's three options, I suppose. One option is to say, okay, show of hands, who wants to vote for Fred Bloggs, who wants to vote for John Smith, etc. That's one. Second option is to have sort of little voting slips, which somebody has to count outside the meeting, and that is going to be more laborious. The third option that we did discuss was to use the matrix here, but just have each councillor has a copy of that, and they're allowed n-1 votes, because the mayor is automatically a member of every committee, unless that's standing orders.
I thought it would be n-2.
Well, you can't vote for yourself.
Well, exactly, yes.
And if you made it n-2, let's say I didn't want to be on the planning committee, why shouldn't I have, for the sake of argument, 6 votes, and why should I only have 5 votes? Because I never wanted to be on that committee in the first place. What do you think?
Well, I think the purpose of what I think Jill is saying is that she'll send it out so that, with the existing members marked up, right? So then the existing members of a committee have the option to keep with it or to withdraw from the committee. People then who are interested in going on the committee have to express self-interest, and then they've got to, there's got to be some form of formal proposal for those individuals, and then a vote. So if you don't want to be on the planning committee, that situation doesn't arise. I don't understand why your situation would arise, because it's only people who are interested in serving on the committee that should be on the team sheet.
Yeah, so I would agree. So, but it was this n-1 or n-2. Well, let me explain what I'm trying to. Let's say there's 7 people on a committee, and we've got 8 names, right? One of the people on the committee, according to standing orders, is the mayor. He or she is on every committee. Yeah. So therefore, I thought if you needed n-1, which would give you 6 votes, and it doesn't matter whether you can't vote for yourself, clearly, but you can vote for 6 other people. If you try to take it as n-2, I think it becomes difficult, because some people will be.
Okay.
I mean, I'm happy to be persuaded.
It's just simple. It's just you have a simple difference of mathematical approach. Well, n represents
The total number of people on the committee.
including the mayor.
Including the mayor.
So what you're
do we have
saying.
to vote for the mayor or not?
No. So I think what you're saying is that let's stick with the real live example. If there's 9 on the committee,
Wow.
if there's 9 on the committee, one.
You weren't looking for us. Okay, right.
If there's 9 on the committee and 1 is the mayor, so there are 8 members of the committee to be voted. So all of the councillors only have 8 votes.
Yes, that's right. But you can't vote for yourself.
You can't vote for yourself.
Yeah.
Okay.
Simon Vicarage Lane.
So n is
The number of vacant
maximum
places.
-1.
N is the number of vacant. N is the number of councillors on the committee.
Less the mayor. Well, you can do it, so less the mayor. You're suggesting that n should be the number of people less the mayor, and I just described that as n-1.
So N is equal to the number of vacancies on the committee.
That's
the
weird.
number of available vacancies.
Yes, okay. So we just need to write it down. The mayor is ex officio on each committee unless otherwise decided.
Exactly, that's just what he
The
said.
issue then comes down to whether I, when I'm voting, want to be on that committee or not.
And if you...
We said you couldn't vote for yourself.
Yes.
If I'm voting for a committee where I'm not a candidate, then the sums are slightly different.
Well, I think we're voting for individual councillors to be on the committee. That's the point.
I see your argument. the difficulty we've got is, I suppose, to a certain extent, policing that you drop another vote because you can't vote for yourself.
Yeah.
Whereas I was thinking that on the paperwork we can just do it on these pre-prepared sheets to give to somebody outside of the meeting, that they can see immediately Martin has not voted for himself. That's absolutely clear, but he has voted for, for the sake of argument, 6 other people, which means you might get voted off, but that's a risk we all run, isn't it? So,
yes. I mean, just looking at the matrix, it should indicate at the top how many, what is the maximum number of
yes, yeah,
members.
that's right. Jill and I could work on that,
Yeah.
so that it shows you, and I think we probably need for each committee 2 columns. One column which is who's currently on it, and then who wants to be on it, because some people, I mean, Jeff Franklin was saying he might want to drop off a couple of committees because he's so heavily committed to so many committees.
He's got personal circles.
And personal, and we've all got those things. If you look at, we talked about Dean Marie and Vicky Tomlins, who've got work commitments and they might not want to be on so many committees. That's however it works. So
I'm sorry, can I just raise one thing?
Yeah.
Is it wise to put the existing members on the form, or do we just leave it?
I don't think it is, but Jill is quite keen on it. I personally don't think it is the right thing. I think you should have a completely blank sheet. But equally, I personally would not go to the wall on that issue. The one issue I would go to the wall on is the nature of the voting. That's the only issue I would.
Okay, well, I agree.
I mean, I agree. Ideally, you should have a blank sheet of paper, and it should be Peter wants to do this, this, and this,
Yeah.
and Martin wants to do that, and Ian wants to do everything. But we might persuade her, we might not. I don't know. She was very keen on.
I know it's yours.
It's understandable.
I share your view. I'm not going to die in a ditch for that.
Not for that bit, no, because we end up at almost the same place with a bit more.
You know who said that.
I know. Well, it's on the notes, and I sent her a copy of the notes.
Well, I think to go back to what Emmett was saying, we really need to keep the process as simple as possible.
Absolutely.
Yes,
So
he's in favour of
the
show of hands, I think.
well, I've looked at the NALC guidelines about voting, and can I quote them to you? Actually, I don't think our standing orders do say anything about how we should vote. I had a quick look and I couldn't see it. NALC says in their 2022 model, and this is, you've got to read it very carefully, unless standing orders provide otherwise, voting on a question shall be by show of hands. At the request of a councillor, the voting on any question shall be recorded to show whether each councillor voted. But it says, on a separate section, when it says committees, where there are more than 2 persons have been nominated for a position filled by the council, and none of those persons has received an absolute majority of votes in their favour, the name of the person having the least number of votes will be struck off. It doesn't say how you get to there. Now, to my rather purist mind, voting on a question is different from voting for a person, an election. And I think the only time you need it secret is when it's a vote for appointing someone. And that's the issue that I have. The rest of it is very clear. Now it's clear that it says, it's a statement of the obvious that the person with the least votes isn't going to be on that group. The question is, should we do it by show of hands, which is in its position? And
My position.
but
I'm happy with a show of hands.
if we're all happy,
Nick Gray's happy with a show of hands, I believe.
in that case we've got a majority for show of hands. End of story.
Yeah.
I think that
Are you
personally,
looking at me?
I personally think that's completely wrong, but that's, if that's the majority view, that's the majority view.
I prefer a system where we write them down and then they're all totted up, but knowing what things are like at the annual meeting, I think maybe we just, as Emmett says, we need to keep it simple.
Fine.
But I mean, if
Or we could put in a qualifier unless otherwise agreed by the council.
well,
Well, I
I
think
was explaining to Ian, I don't know how many people are aware of the discussion that took place when they were discussing actually my co-option, and there was a furious difference of view about what was meant by secret voting, whether it was simply a vote without the public and on a show of hands, whether it was voting written down and handed in but without names on, or whether it should be written and handed in but with names on. I mean, with the person who was voting. And 3 or 4 councillors walked out and one subsequently resigned. I mean, it's simply because the discussion was quite difficult. And different people had different views on what was meant by a secret vote.
yeah, I can understand. I mean, well, what we could do is say that, let's put it to them that, to the council, you can decide whether you want it, in situation 3, if you want it done by a show of hands, or you just want each person to complete that matrix and hand it to somebody, and that person tots it up, and leave it to the councillors.
Leave it to the clerk.
Sorry, leave it to the councillors to decide which way they want to do it. And then the clerk, I think the clerk will need to have somebody in the next room to quickly tot it up. It's not going to take long, because you may have a situation where every committee, the numbers match up straight away.
Yes.
I mean, sorry.
In my view, the second of the options that I mentioned doesn't work. If you say that people can't vote for themselves, then you have to know who's actually voting, who put the return in. So a completely secret ballot where you can know who voted, which is, I mean, how it happens in those public elections, in my view in this case doesn't work. It's either just a show of hands or something like that, but with the councillor's name on it. But I mean, if it's show of hands, show of hands. But as you say, council, we can put that to council, and if they don't like it, they can walk out or whatever.
That's the whole point. Right.
Okay.
Now what we're going to do?
Well, I think that the key thing for me is capturing this in a report that is going to be available by this time next week.
Yes.
So that it can get onto the agenda. So it's a 2-page report against a standard format, setting out many of the points from our discussion, and most of the points are already written down somewhere.
I mean, I will do that. I need to do that anyway, because I'm away for most of next week. So I was proposing to do that in the next 2 or 3 days.
Right.
Circulate to you folks for accuracy.
Okay.
And then if one of you could then undertake to make sure it gets to Jill in plenty of time. Because will you do that? Okay, that's good. And that's the way we can do it. And I'll write it in the form of, these are the proposals from the working group. This is what we think the issues are. And the really only issue we think that there is how will you vote for the people when you have too many?
Okay. Can I just ask, I prepared that slate sheet. Do you want me to update it?
I would leave it just as an example.
Okay, because I could update it by putting on existing member, a column for the existing member of the committee. you know, a
That's a
nomination,
good way of doing it.
and then the other, I could put a third column on number of votes received, so that it
That might be, if
might be
you
a
could
bridge
do that,
too far.
no,
I'll do the variations.
do a variation of that. I'm not quite sure when Jill wants to send this out. I thought at first she was saying send it out now.
No,
You are allowed to say something. Put your hand up. No.
I think it will need to be quite soon.
Yeah, that's
because of
the
timing.
problem, Peter. I think what I'll say to her, I'll try to do it just now, to say, look, we suggest that you have a column which is existing people, and next to that a column of who would like to apply.
yeah,
And that keeps it nice and simple.
okay,
Yeah?
for each of those committees.
Yeah.
All right, no problem.
And as I say, the voting bit, our standing orders are not particularly clear. We never mentioned much about how you voted. And that's the latest NALC information. You basically can choose to do it one way or the other way. And we'll ask the council what you want to do.
Yeah.
And take it from there. Right.
Okay.
Home and home.
Meeting closed.
Is the meeting...
Are you closing the meeting yet?
Unless anyone wants to raise anything else on this.
No, thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Oh, that was...